How is data feeds going to enable the next evolution in DeFi? I'm Dave Morris. I'm one of the product managers working on the data feeds product. And I'll be walking you through some of the exciting initiatives that we have planned over the next year. Now, DeFi relies on data, and two of the core tenets of that is quality and reliability. And it's enabled the use cases of today and will continue to enable the use cases of tomorrow. So by the end of this presentation, I'll hope you'll see that we're making these critical investments throughout our roadmap to ensure those next phases of evolution. Chainlink is a decentralized computing platform for building verifiable applications and markets, providing data, compute, and cross-chain services for builders. Now, Chainlink's data story began 4 years ago on ETH mainnet, and with data feeds, we've helped bootstrap early development of DeFi with easy, reliable, tamper-resistant data on-chain. And to this moment, Chainlink remains the primary oracle for securing tens of billions of dollars across the DeFi ecosystem. Now let's see what the numbers show and how Chainlink has become the industry standard. We're the standard for bringing data on-chain and supporting DeFi. We've delivered 9.9 billion in data points delivered on-chain, and 8.5 trillion in TVE since 2022. We've earned the trust of our community, and this has been through bear markets and bull markets, and that's all down to being reliable and having the highest quality of data on-chain for our users. Now let's see how that standard works in action. Chainlink helps enable rapid adoption once it integrates with a new chain. We can see that when Chainlink goes live on a new chain, it acts as a catalyst for growth and adoption for that chain. And we see this not just for new chain adoptions, but we see it for feeds for new token launches or new data primitives that we launch. So what's next on this journey, and how will we unlock the next stage of evolution in DeFi? So over the next year, we're going to focus on 4 key themes: scalability, enabling the long tail, depth of data, and real-world assets. In scalability, we believe that there's going to be hundreds of chains that we're going to need to support, whether they be app chains, public, private, L2s. So we need to be able to respond wherever the market's going effortlessly. Enabling the long tail, we see new assets being tokenized on-chain from the real world, as long as native DeFi tokens in early stages of development coming up all the time. And we want to be able to support the entire long tail as well as blue chip asset tokens that we see today. In delivering depth of data, as leading protocols innovate and become more mature, we're looking to respond to that and be able to create new data primitives to support the use cases of tomorrow. And in real-world assets, we're seeing a huge increase in tokenized real-world assets, and Chainlink is at the forefront of offering the very best-in-class solutions to support this. So let's take a look at our roadmap. We have an incredibly active schedule over the next year and plan to deliver on some really key strategic initiatives. And this will allow us to be more agile and provide the depth of data in terms of our asset coverage, while staying true to our core tenets of quality and reliability. Now let's deep dive into what's coming up for the product over the next year. Data Feeds 2 is the next version of the market-leading Data Feeds product. So Data Feeds 2 will provide the same push-based Oracle workflow, which centers on updating prices on a deviation and heartbeat. And we'll also be introducing new features designed to empower DeFi users. When designing this version of Data Feeds, we wanted to stay true to some of our core design principles. And these are scalability, economic sustainability, more content, and better customer experience. So for scalability, as I mentioned earlier, we want to be able to support hundreds of chains and come to market as soon as possible, as soon as we see demand in a given area. From economic sustainability, as DeFi matures, we want the ecosystem to be self-sustaining, and we want users to be able to leverage our data feeds without necessarily having to interact directly with Chainlink Labs. In terms of more content, again, as protocols become more sophisticated, we want to increase that depth of user demand and be able to offer new primitives to support their use cases. And then better customer experience. We want to improve on the existing interfaces and provide a world-class experience. So now let's see this in more detail of how this will work. So if we go from left to right, we can see that Data Feeds 2 will leverage cutting-edge architecture developed for the pull-based Oracle solution, which will be data streams, but we're going to overlay the push-based workflow on top of that solution. So what you get from this is you have your traditional Chainlink DON, which is taking the median of medians and working with our world-class data providers and node operators. That will write reports to our data engine, and then those reports will be managed by keepers, which will then check the usual deviation and heartbeat, and they'll write that to a central Chainlink cache. Now, this differs from what we had previously, where we had a single proxy contract per feed. Now, this will all go into a single place, so users will be able to call just one contract. What this ultimately means for us is that we'll be a lot more scalable in terms of the number of DONs that we'll need to support over a given point in time. So let's have a look what this means from the user perspective. With this new initiative, we wanted to strike a balance between improving what we had already, but not making such large changes that it becomes prohibitive for existing users to adopt new feeds. Now, when you request a feed, you'll be able to request multiple feeds in one call, and you'll also be able to request both basic and premium data. For the first time, you'll have on-chain billing, which will enable users to pay for the data feeds at the point that they interact with the service. We'll also add additional functionality to request an updated price on demand, as well as request asset lists or metadata associated with a given asset on-chain. So, behind the scenes, let's have a look at how we're increasing our depth of support for Data Feeds 2.0. In terms of improving our breadth of data for Data Feeds 2, we've got two sort of distinct flavors. As you'll see later in the data streams talk, we'll start supporting not just price, but also bid, mid, and ask within one feed. That would be like one example. Another example would be within, say, a fixed income specific feed. You may have maturity date or coupon rate. So we'll be able to add a lot more data into a single feed. And then the other way of doing this would be in like a more logical grouping. So NFT floor price collections could be all grouped together and placed under one feed, or you could get something like precious metals and commodities all grouped together and again be called in a single call. So now let's see how we're enabling the long tail of asset coverage. So at Chainlink, we want to provide support for every token issuer out there, whether they're securing billions or they're just a newly minted protocol. Today, we have high liquidity standards that help keep the ecosystem safe and reduce risk. Although what this does is create a bit of a loop. So as we've previously talked about, when people become the standard, we give token issuers a boost when we deploy a new feed on-chain for them. But they won't get this boost if they can't meet the liquidity standards to start with. So how do we sort of help sort of bootstrap these early adopters so that they can become then the usual gold standard data feeds so that it could be consumed in the same way for like Aave or Compound later on. So what we want to be able to do, there's for feeds or tokens that have, say, low trading volumes, so thinly traded, but they have like large liquidity depth. We want to be able to offer a tiered Oracle solution that will help support those token issuers and give them the ability to have their own data feeds on-chain, whilst also providing the same level of guarantees and security that Aave and Compound expect from our data feeds. So now it feels like there's no presentation complete without talking about RWAs, and that's where we're going to look at next. So in real-world assets, we've captured the imagination of analysts, policymakers, and management consultancies the world over. And we certainly agree that there's a definite trend that's occurring in the market at the moment. Even if you take the lower bound numbers here, this is still like a tremendous sort of opportunity. And we've, year to date, we've seen tokenized US Treasuries increase three to fourfold increase in market cap year to date onto public blockchains. Now, this move has been due to more favorable yields from traditional finance coming over into DeFi, and I suspect we'll need to see similar things happen with adjacent asset classes for it to see that further adoption. Now, those market forces could be a variety of different things. It could be regulatory, so more clarity on the regulatory stance from certain jurisdictions could help bootstrap more adoption. It could be through a technology push, so in the same way that GPS, when it appeared on phones, enabled Uber, we could see a similar thing happen with DeFi. This could be something as simple as sort of better best practices, SDKs, or it could be something a bit more advanced like zero-knowledge proofs. And then you also have economic reasons as well that I talked about in terms of our fixed income example. On the right, the green boxes, this is where we are as data feeds in our journey to supporting these asset classes. So we're live with money markets, commodities, and ETFs. We're working with a number of protocols in the carbon space, and then luxuries and real estate are a little bit further down the line in the roadmap there. So I'm just going to run through a couple of cool use cases now of how users are using our RWA data feeds and proof of reserves today. Bakkt is one of the leading protocols using Chainlink price feeds to securely integrate real-world assets on-chain. To enable on-chain composability, they use Chainlink price feeds and soon proof of reserve for maximum transparency. By helping provide secure and reliable price data for these real-world assets, Chainlink price feeds help unlock the ability of the DeFi ecosystem to securely integrate RWA tokens within their protocols. So now let's take a closer look at proof of reserve and how that's being used to enable RWAs. So Matrixport are live with proof of reserve today. They're using proof of reserve to check their STBT tokens off-chain balances, and this is being attested by a third-party auditor called the Network Firm. Now, the reason why this is important is because that's a single source, and so we obviously want to ensure that we can remove any sort of information asymmetry and trust, and then provide maximum transparency and security. Now, let's recap for today and see what we've gone through. So what we've seen today is that Chainlink is the standard when it comes to bringing data on-chain, and we continue to innovate closely and work with users to bring reliable quality data to the DeFi community. We're leading the way in best practices to enable the next generation of use cases. So remember, if you want high quality, reliable data, use the standard, use Chainlink data feeds. Scan the QR code, go to the website, take action, start building today. Thank you.